All right, welcome back and thanks for staying with us. It's still Rapid Done right here on Rapid TV. And yeah, we've been having quite a good morning and at top of the hour of 9 to you yet again. We hope that we have been able to help you run a smooth morning anyways. Thank you to Emmanuel and Eva for that accurate and beautifully presented sports update. I hope that they were able to, fill you up on the sporting activities, especially because the Premier League is here and you guys literally will do everything around that. But yes, at the 9 o'clock conversation, we have two segments, of course, where we'll be running a couple of questions through. Now, for this first conversation, right? Gender-based violence is something that has bedeviled not just Nigeria, the African continent, and the world at large. We have seen numerous or countless times where people have been abused, men and women alike. And when we talk about gender-based violence, we quickly associate it to the woman alone, forgetting that both the man and the woman experiences gender-based violence alike. I'm just creating that balance so that the likes of Victor will not say that, oh, you are just pro-woman and you are leaving the men around. Now, in early 2025, which is this year, nearly 24 women were killed due to gender-based violence nationwide, 17 in January alone, making a 240% rise in rise year over year, with 5 more cases by mid-February. Over 100 femicides were recorded in 2024. Even though the statistics for the women that are being subjected to abuse or subjected to gender-based violence are pretty high, right? We will not deny the fact that they are most vulnerable to gender-based violence. And today we have someone in the studio who we will have the conversation about gender-based violence with, giving us proper insight, the statistics, and the way forward. And to drive that conversation today, we have Chief Jennifer Hembafan Ali. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
So good to have you in the studio.
Thank you so much. It's good to be here.
All right, good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. So let's go to the basics. When we talk about gender-based violence, what do we mean in simple plain terms?
So gender-based violence refers to any harmful acts of any form of abuse that is perpetrated upon someone just because of their gender, just like the word says. So now, this happens mostly to women and girls. However, men and boys are also subjected to this gender-based violence. And that is actually kind of swept under the carpet quietly. Like you mentioned, we're trying to create this equality where we are making sure that information about gender-based violence are not just directed towards the woman and the girl, but also the male gender inclusive.
Thank you for that balance, as it is.
Yes.
but let's delve straight into some of the heavy matters that we've seen happen in Nigeria, especially when it concerns the women. So according to the Nigerian Police Force, a staggering 17,415 cases of gender-based and domestic violence were reported in 2024. Right, and only 409 convictions were secured. That's less than 3% conviction rate,
exactly.
basically. Why do you think this is so?
Like for me, I think our social norms and lack of education on the legal matters, how people are supposed to address sexual and gender-based violence, plays a very key role. And then we also have the religious and then the patriarchy, normal stuff about Nigeria. Like in Africa generally, not just Nigeria, to be honest, we have this system where most times when people have cases of sexual and gender-based violence and they report these cases, the family go back and say, you want to put your husband in trouble? Do you want to, you have kids, and then there is this compromise that comes in, and then the women, they go back and tell the police, you know what, no, we don't want this case to be prosecuted. We also have that patriarchy I mentioned, where the people, even the women groups are telling the woman, oh, you are the one that wants to show you are now the head of your family. Come on, slap, you went to police.
Really?
So your pain and your abuse is devaluated. Your feelings and every hurt that you're going through is played so low to the point where you are also doubting if you really want to prosecute these cases. So we are here to tell every woman, every child, every boy out there that if you have any case of any form of abuse, anything that is done to your body that you are not comfortable with, you have a right to report. And do you know that recently, I have a show where we talk about sexual and gender-based violence, as you know, and recently we had a lawyer on the call, and there are charges and punishments for every form of abuse, to the point of even if you do me like this and I don't like it, you will serve some form of punishment.
Okay.
Wow.
If you rape someone, if you look at someone in a way they are not comfortable with, and they can prove that look meant what made them uncomfortable, you stand a chance of being prosecuted.
Oh, wow.
And you'll be
All
really
right.
dealt with.
Haven't had this captured in the law, and we still have 240% increase rate in femicide in just 1 month, the month of January 2025.
Yes.
What does this say about the escalation of violence?
For me, I would even say that the statistics may be more, to be honest, because how many
Some
cases
go
are really
unreported.
reported. Most families would not want to spoil the names of their good sons, their good daughters, and then they just let these femicides happen, and then they sweep it under the carpet, like I said earlier. But I really feel with education and programs like this, this will be called to an end. Because we are not just fighting against the gender-based violence in Nigeria. For me, I call it a pandemic because it's all over the world. It's on the increase. And, I saw a trend, and I'm not going to mention it because I don't want people looking it out and then beginning to say, oh, okay, it was just about a guy that was prosecuted in America who was bringing up a cult, where he's training guys how to be bad to women and telling them the reasons why they are men and should treat these women this way. And the culture was quickly accepted. You know how it's easy for the world to accept wrong stuff. And then before you know it, there were so many killings. The men would kill their wives, and everybody's surprised, like, but these people were a loving couple, what happened? So, most of these things would be able to stop if people are educated, if the women, if the girls, even the men are educated that this gender-based violence, it doesn't just start, the femicide, it doesn't just start like that. Somebody cannot just wake up, carry knife and It starts from somewhere. And once you start noticing these red flags, you can have this conversation with your partner, and then you can discuss separation, you can discuss how we can respect each other, and then the financial empowerment and dependency, economic status, it really, really plays a big part in this, where the women are not empowered, and then they are depending on the man, and they don't want to be in the trouble of being left on the street with their kids. I've had many women, they come, like my organization, the Juwasi, we have people come to us, report cases, and then we bring in the lawyers, we are ready to prosecute, and then she's saying, but how do I take care of my kids if I leave this man and this and that? Madam, don't worry, we'll just go back. We want to stay. I just want to settle it out of court and all this stuff. So the economic dependency of women, because in Africa generally women are less financially stable, and that is why we are calling on other organizations to push for economic empowerment of women, especially because for my organization we run this women and youth financial empowerment. We are not just talking about how you can make money, we are physically empowering women, sending them back to school, empowering their businesses, teaching them skills, and empowering those businesses to start up, and those that already have businesses, we're empowering them to scale up their businesses this way. Recently on the International Youth Day, we had a sewing machine donated to a lady who has gone through 2 years intensive internship training in fashion design. And I was telling her in front of her husband that now, you're not going to be doing her anyhow again. Because at least, she has some money. She's bringing some form of contribution. So even the man is also like, let me not shout too much. This one, she's sewing new clothes, So if we empower women, if we empower the girl child, if we empower people, not just through education, but physical empowerment, let's go beyond talk. Let's do the talk. We're talking empowerment. Every time we mention empowerment, people think it's just about education, it's just about advocacy. You come on television and talk. When you leave this place, you don't have to have all the money in the world. You can start with that woman on your street that is selling akara in the evening. She has 5 kids standing right there. You can pick one of them and send them to school. Basic education in Nigeria right now is free. We have those school charges that really amount high, but it's something each and every person can pick up the responsibility and support each other. And if you're able to empower people beyond words, then we'll be able to stop this gender-based violence. That's the best
Right.
of my
I forgot to mention that she is the founder and the executive director of Jiwasi Nigeria.
Yes.
And from everything you have seen, you have contributed, or your organization has contributed to empowering women. Over, I think last week, the First Lady also in her capacity donated 250 million naira for 500 women in the northern state of Nigeria to be empowered. But do you think that gender-based violence or financial empowerment is the way out of gender-based violence? And I ask this question because we still have women who do well for themselves that are still abused and subject themselves to gender-based violence and abuse of different forms. So what is the root cause? And do you think that is like the basic solution to gender-based violence?
You know, that it depends on where you're channeling that money. Now, if you just come here and then somebody is going through an abuse and you just fetch 1 million naira and give them and say, take, go and start business and get out of this place, it's not enough.
Okay.
Education plays a very, very high role. Now, what do you mean by gender-based violence? What are the forms of gender-based violence? Sometimes it's verbal, it's physical, it's
Absolutely.
emotional, it's mental. You know, like you said, and I really respect what you said, because that is what I was going to mention. It's not just about giving people economic empowerment and financial freedom and then they are free from sexual and gender-based violence. No. It's about for every man. These discussions have to go beyond the woman. These discussions in fact, we have a project we are calling Catch Them Young. Now we're going to secondary and primary schools where we're telling young girls and young boys, having these conversations with them and telling them what is right and what is wrong and to what extent you will stand the chances of being prosecuted. And one thing that can really, really push beyond the economic empowerment of every woman is for us to push for prosecution of gender-based violence cases, where we are not just talking about gender-based violence, empowering the women and educating the men. By the time we start sending big names to jail, other small names will be like, hey, I beg you. Of course, all fingers are not equal. But if we are able to prosecute some people that are kind of, should I say, famous, big names and stuff like that, one or two of them, then other people will take an example and, you know, I think it's going to be curbed.
Right.
So it's beyond financial empowerment.
Let's talk about security a little bit, because you mentioned earlier when you were having the conversation, when we were talking here, that once someone is abused, the person can have a conversation with the spouse and say, let us talk about separation and then move away. Now, this person is already being abused in this relationship. Don't you think it's going to be a lot more riskier having a conversation with someone who is already abusing you to say, listen, I want to part ways with you?
No, there are different forms of abuse, like I said earlier. Now, if you have a situation where the abuse is physical, where this guy is dabbing your nose and you're bleeding and you're swollen and all that stuff, of course you cannot have this conversation. Absolutely. You want to leave, Abi? Okay.
The girl, I think a girl did it in Benin and she didn't make it out of there.
Yeah, of course. So you have to know who you are even discussing with and to what extent you are being abused. And you must also be able to know, you must also be able to find counsel. This is why NGOs like us exist. Now, I am not a lawyer, I don't have a law firm, but I have partners in the law who will tell me advices on stuff like this. So now, if your abuse is in the form of mental abuse, this guy is probably, coming home late, he will not sleep with you, he would not validate your feelings, and he's talking down on you. Oh, you're so fat, that is why I can't even sleep with you. I have younger girls out there. You know, as little as these words that I just said are, they hurt so deep if you're in a relationship with someone you love. And this is an abuse. So if you are going through this and you're thinking that, oh, I need to work on my weight, girl, if you are comfortable with your body, stay there. And you have to move away from this man, but you have to seek legal counsel. You have to reach out to organization. My organization is also available for this type of talk. Come to us, we can be able to guide you. And if you have the power to separate, just pack your bags and separate. You can be in that other state or that hotel and then you call him, you say, you know what, enough is enough of your insult. If you're going to calm down in 1 month, I will come back. If you're going to calm down in 2 months, I will come back to you. But we have to know who we are dealing with and to what extent our abuses are. And we should know that we are not alone. We have people like Jiwasi, we have many other organizations that are willing to guide you to the right directions, to the right channel on how you can separate from your spouses that are abusing you. And this is not just for women, even men. You know, men are going through so many abuses. In fact, you know, recently we had a session of a sexual and gender-based violence call like this, and we had a man on the call, and you know, he made everybody, I actually cried, because he was talking like he was so real and down to earth. And you know, I have known, and we always push for equality where we speak, but we know that women are always like the ones that have the potential highest risk of being abused. However, when we bring men into this conversation and they open up, it is bloody, it is silly, it is not fair. So don't be shamed, don't feel, oh, you're a man and all that. That's a conversation for another day. Be able to seek counsel, seek for help, and people are willing to help you.
All right, thank you so much for helping us understand this better. If you're just joining us, we have been hanging out with Chief Jennifer Hambafan Ali, and she is the executive director and the CEO or the founder of Jawasi Nigeria. Thank you so much again for joining us on the show.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
All right. So we're heading out now to be back for part 2. You all know that it's pretty much going to be as interesting as the first. So please hold on. We'll be right back.